Hi everybody, this is X. Today I am going to talk about which country is better to live, Canada or USA. Be with us. When considering where to live, one of the most important factors to consider is the cost of living. In this video, we will compare the living costs in the United States and Canada using specific examples to determine which country is better to live in based on cost. Housing costs are a major contributor to the overall cost of living in both countries. In the United States, housing costs can vary greatly depending on the city and state you live in. For example, the median home price in San Francisco, California is over $1.4 million, while in Dallas, Texas it is around $280,000. In contrast, the median home price in Toronto, Canada is around $800,000, while in Montreal, it is around $375,000. Overall, housing costs tend to be higher in the United States than in Canada. According to Numbeo, the cost of living in the United States is 7.38% higher than in Canada. However, there are still some cities in Canada, such as Vancouver and Toronto, where housing costs can be very high. Another major factor to consider is healthcare costs. In the United States, healthcare is generally provided through private insurance, which can be quite expensive. For example, a single person with a mid-level health insurance plan in the United States can expect to pay around $300 per month, while a family of 4 can expect to pay around $1,200 per month. In contrast, healthcare in Canada is provided through a universal healthcare system that is funded by the government. While Canadians may pay higher taxes to support this system, they do not have to worry about paying for medical expenses out of pocket. This can be a significant advantage for those who are concerned about healthcare costs. Education costs. Education is another important factor to consider when comparing the cost of living in the United States and Canada. In the United States, the cost of college tuition can be quite high. For example, the average cost of tuition and fees at a public four-year institution for the 2020 to 2021 school year was $9,687 for in-state students and $21,184 for out-of-state students. Private colleges can be even more expensive, with an average tuition and fees cost of $35,087 per year. In Canada, college tuition tends to be more affordable. For example, the average tuition and fees cost for undergraduate domestic students in Canada for the 2021 to 2022 school year was around $6,463 Canadian dollars. International students can expect to pay more, but tuition is still generally more affordable than in the United States. Food costs can also be a significant factor to consider when comparing the cost of living in the United States and Canada. According to Numbeo, the cost of groceries in the United States is 4.79% higher than in Canada. However, food costs can vary greatly depending on the region and the type of food you buy. Transportation costs in the USA and Canada can vary depending on the mode of transportation, distance traveled, and location. It is difficult to say which country has better transportation costs, as it also depends on personal preferences and circumstances. Generally, transportation costs in the USA are often lower than in Canada. Gasoline prices are generally lower in the USA, which can make driving more affordable. However, public transportation costs can vary widely between cities in both countries, with some cities having higher fares than others. In some cases, public transportation can be more expensive in the USA compared to Canada. When it comes to air travel, prices can also vary widely between the two countries. Generally, air travel is more expensive in Canada due to higher taxes and fees, although prices can be comparable or even lower for some routes and airlines. Taxes are another important factor to consider when comparing the cost of living in the United States and Canada. Generally, Canadian taxes tend to be higher than in the United States. For example, the federal tax rate for a single person making $60,000 Canadian dollars in Canada is 20.5%, while the federal tax rate for a single person making $60,000 US dollars in the United States is 12%. However, it is important to note that taxes can vary greatly depending on the province or state you live in. Additionally, the taxes in Canada go towards funding services such as healthcare and education, which can help offset some of the costs of living. Finally, it is important to consider the job market when comparing living costs in the United States and Canada. The job market can vary greatly depending on the region and the industry, so it is important to research potential job opportunities before making a decision. Generally, the United States has a larger economy and more job opportunities, particularly in certain industries such as technology and finance. However, Canada has a reputation for being a more stable and secure place to work, with strong labor laws and social safety nets. In conclusion, when comparing the cost of living in the United States and Canada, it is important to consider a range of factors, including housing, healthcare, education, food, transportation, taxes, and the job market. Ultimately, the decision of which country is better to live in based on cost will depend on individual circumstances and priorities. We hope that you found our video informative and enjoyable. If it was helpful to you, please consider giving it a thumbs up. We value your feedback, so please feel free to leave a comment with your thoughts and opinions.